So we're here to talk through this Battleships puzzle by JinHoo with a rise and fall theme. You can see the bottom clues are actually the key clues here along the theme, the 1 through 4 and 4 through 1. And for the purposes of this video, I'm going to come on and just turn on some extra options, including shading cells through surface. I'm going to turn on numbers as well to just mark those in. And the numbers are going to be pretty key because this is an easy as puzzle. And in an easy as puzzle, in this variation, the outside clues will refer to the size of ships being seen. One thing that means is if we think that there is exactly one 4-unit ship, the 4-unit ship is going to be seen by both of these clues. So imagine the 4-unit ship is here, spanning across this way, like in the row I arbitrarily put it in. It would actually need to use this as its last cell. That would mean that it's okay from below. If these were the first ship segments seen for this 4, that's where those would go, but we've got to place in a 3 to still work through that row. And in this arbitrary example, it would come to the left, and you'll see that I actually have an issue now. This is not the right form of the solution, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how the numbers will be helping here. And the way we're going to really be constrained is to recognize that if the battleship is in the 4th column and the 6th column going horizontally across the grid, that then this clue that's in a square cell, it's got to be part of a 3 or 4-unit ship. The only option left for it is a 3-unit ship. And now we've got to think about the three clues around the grid. These clues are going to be seeing 2 distinct ships, and we should be able to recognize that the 2 ships are going to be this one in blue that will see what's in the 3rd column, a different one in red that's going to be seeing what's in the 7th column, and this clue right here can't be red, so it must be blue, and that actually means that it's going to have to come across like this immediately to be a valid placement. We end up where we're going to have at least this cell and potentially the ones below, above, to the left, or to the right, but this cell is going to have to be shared in red to be valid for the options below and around it. So this is the start of the puzzle, is to place in these clues, and it will finish out the clues below in this 3 column, so that the 3 certainly sees this ship first. We're going to have to place a 2-cell and a 1-cell ship in this lower left space to be seen by these other outside clues before we get going too much further, but we'll start by having those marked in. Notice that with the 4 going to be horizontal and with the 2 3s being marked into the grid, that the remaining space where we got the starting clue in the grid right here has to be a 2-unit ship, and that will help us actually pretty quickly mark these things in. And connecting back to the fact this 3 is seeing this red cell just above, we can mark all this in. And so now we come back to the very first observation we were talking about in this puzzle, is that the battleship is going to be horizontal in this middle space. And so it can't be horizontal in any of the cells I'm marking now because there aren't actually 4 cells in a row to be done. As soon as we're up here, we could have 4 cells across, but notice that to this red cell, this cell's just to the diagonals of any place where a ship is set cannot be part of those spaces. And so we're actually left with just one option, which is this, where the battleship is at the very top of the grid, and there are going to be no ship segments between it and these bottom clues. The bottom clues have to see all the way up. So that actually forces, if you're watching carefully, this spacement for the 3-cell ship. That actually leaves just 1 cell in the 2nd row for a 2-unit ship, so it's got to be put straight in, and it's got to be a vertical, like shown. That actually now means the battleship coming across has just this option for it. That means that this clue on the far right that sees a submarine, there's got to be a submarine right there. In the same way, this clue in the lower right of the grid that sees a submarine, it's got to be right there. And so we've actually fulfilled, if we look at the puzzle now, most of the outside clues. We've got these going well up to this green. We've got a 1, we've got a 2 to this 2, we've got this 1, this 2 done. And so what we really are left with are these lower left clues. We've got a 1 and a 2-unit ship to place, as well as another submarine to place. So let's start by thinking about the submarines. One of the submarines is going to be in one of these 2 cells, and the other submarine is going to be in one of these 4 cells. And the key constraint is going to be that in this lower left of the grid, the 2-unit ship can't be eliminating all the options for the submarine. For instance, if the 2 went in here, going to the left would be no good because it would block off the visibility of the submarine first, and coming up This 2 would actually eliminate all of these 4 cells in yellow, where we know for sure from looking to the right that if there are 2 submarines left and they're both the ships seen in these rows, we have to be using the yellow cells. So the thing to see is that this first cell cannot be part of a 2-unit ship. That actually means that neither of these cells, which are going to be potential submarine options, can be part of a 2-unit ship. And the 2-unit ship is up top, which leaves this cell in yellow for a sub, this cell in yellow for a sub, and we finish the grid. So pretty tricky puzzle, but a really great use of the outside clues and a really elegant solve for it. Hope you learned something about that through the video, and if you stick around, I can give you a bit of an Easter egg for this puzzle and for the rest of the week, but if you haven't run into the secret of JinHoo's week yet and don't want to be spoiled, this would be a good time to stop the video. Otherwise, we'll give you another layer of the secrets of this brilliant debut week. And that is in part, and maybe this is a case when you see some of these puzzles, you're like, oh, this looks like a Battleships, let's just try it like a Battleships. And you don't even bother to read the rules or see in the title this is a variation where the clues mean something else. So let's actually look at this as if it were a Battleships puzzle. And let's recognize one of the cool things that's true if this were a Battleships puzzle is that there is a very special column here, which has no ship sections in it. It's actually a really hard deduction until you've done a whole lot of these Battleships puzzles, but Battleships have a total of 20 cells in the standard fleet of 1 through 4 size ships. And so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10, twice 10 is 20, and so we have a 0 for this middle space. We can also do some of the standard things as we start out of Battleships. For instance, around the ship, we can put in Cs. We're going to have a 2-unit ship in this space because it can't grow any larger. This square cell, it can be a vertical or horizontal ship, but the 2 down in the column says it's going to have to be a horizontal. So we know this for sure. We actually don't know if it comes further across. We finished out this clue in doing that. We actually are in a place where this row only has 3 cells left in it, and actually those all must be part of ships, and we can see that in the case of this rightmost option. It's actually the only ship section in the column, so it's going to have to be a submarine, and we can put that into the grid. We can now step back and start to do some of the more typical things you do in puzzles like this, which is to say, how do we put in the 3 and 4 unit ships in general into the grid? And let me first by marking where are there potential rows or columns that can have a battleship. This can have a battleship. I don't see any other horizontal options that have 4 cells in a row anymore. And this option as a column could have a 4-unit ship in it. Notice that it would actually eliminate these 2 clues because it would have to be in these cells. So there's some limitations around it. In terms of 3-unit ships, it can't be horizontal in these spaces, but it could be in this row. So this row is a 3 or 4, and that makes sense based on what we've drawn. There could be a 4-unit ship horizontally here. There could be a 3-unit ship horizontally here. Red is the 3-unit ships. Vertically, we can't put any more in these first columns. We only have 2 cells left here, but we could put a 3-unit ship in this column for sure. And we could put a 3-unit ship in this column for sure. So it looks like we've got a fair number of options for 3 and 4-unit ships, but one of the things we should be considering is that for any of these cells that are vertical, for this one, these options in red or this option in green, these cells right here are going to be taken by it. So there's only one big vertical ship in this grid because of the effect on this clue. And this is a subtle deduction, but a critical deduction. And that then makes us think about how do we actually get 2 horizontal ships that are big. One is in this top row and one is going to be in these spaces. But notice that the only things that are horizontal big ships are going to be in this spot. And notice that we then have already fulfilled the 2 for this column. So there's only one of these. The rest is going to be in this 4th row. But critically, either of these that are horizontal are going to influence this vertical ship in the space. And so this 4th column can't have a vertical ship and a horizontal ship that are both large. One of these in red must be used, which actually means that the vertical ship is going to be in this space. And the cell we know for sure is that it uses this one. So I'm going to go back to the battleship cells and mark some of these deductions in. we know for sure we take this cell in blue. That marks this one diagonally off as a C, and this column now doesn't have many options, but it has to take these two cells for sure. That marks this as unusable. Just to the upper left of it, again, diagonal cells from a shaded cell, because these are sharing a corner, can't be part of the same ship. That now actually forces a vertical 3-unit ship that will finish out this column. That means the 4-unit ship has to be this horizontal one. There's the right button. We still want to be placing a valid set of these ships, and we need to have a 1-unit ship somewhere in this space. So these 3 in red below would fully eliminate those options. So got to put this ship in here, mark that in. What are the ships we have left to place? Well, we've got a 2-unit ship and a single submarine to place, and this is a 2-unit ship up top to fulfill this row. That eliminates this, and we've got to place a submarine. And while this pen pal interface can't check both solutions, this is the standard battleship answer to the puzzle, in addition to the hybrid or variation answer that we started the video with. And again, even on its own, this would be a really elegant battleships puzzle, particularly the use of this hidden clue in the center as just a quick gotcha to get you into placing the rest of the ships. Think through the big ships, the 3s and 4s, to fill out the rest of the grid. And that this also works simultaneously as an easy as puzzle is one of the really elegant hidden things for this whole week. Really great construction by JinHoo, and we hope you got a great sense of how to solve some battleships and battleships variations through this video. We'll see you again soon.